I show it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Lake Mills Police and Fire Commission meeting to order, January 19th, 2023. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, take roll call. Don't know where Mike is. Jen's gotten excused. We'll go to item number 4, the acceptance of the minutes from the November 17, 2022 regular meeting. Drake, can you enlighten us a little bit about this? We don't have to really vote on this anymore. It's sort of an acceptance.
Correct. Robert's Rules doesn't require a vote on it. You can simply accept them as submitted if there's no changes or corrections.
Okay, very good. Anybody see anything that needed to be changed or corrected on those then? All right. And so it's just basically accepted. Okay. Let's move on to item number 5. Fire Chief report. Todd, please.
I have nothing to report here tonight other than the confirmations that are on the agenda.
Alrighty, let's go into our promotion of fire captain then, please.
James DeRuyter has been promoted to captain. James meets all the requirements as far as the education goes with NIMS, ICS, fire officer, and he's been a member of the department since 2010, and he was a unanimous selection from the fire officers to be promoted.
Okay. Hearing that, is there a motion to promote James to fire captain?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Terry.
I second.
Second by Laura. We'll do a roll call. Laura?
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Russ, aye. Motion passed 3-0. Congratulations, James. We'll move on to the next item here of our probationary firefighters.
The new probationary?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have an agenda.
Okay, sorry, Todd.
So,
We got Zane up here.
yep, Zane, if you would stand, please. Zane Grensing, he's a recent graduate from Deerfield High School, has completed the fire academy, so he's certified Fire 2. He has also completed the EMT basic and is in the process of taking the National Registry to become licensed EMT basic. He lives here in the city, and right now he's available during the day at our greatest need. So as long as he passes his physical and drug screening, I ask that the commission confirms him as a new probationary member and starts his 1-year probationary period.
Okay. I'll make a motion upon background check and, is it physical and drug screen we usually do, or?
Yep.
Okay. Do we do the exclusion list too?
Excuse me?
Or exclusion list for the federal government for EMTs?
I don't believe we have to.
We don't necessarily have to. It's might be one that we might want to consider as going on.
The first I've heard of it.
Okay.
I mean, if you want that, I'm comfortable putting that in as.
Okay. And we can discuss, I guess, where to go or whatever if we need to get information on that then. Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Laura. Roll call. Terry?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Russ, aye. Zane, congratulations. You can relax here too, okay?
Next up would be Philip Stalewski. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but Phil is not here. He's working. He works currently for Superior EMS. He's a critical care paramedic. He is active in the Wisconsin Army Guard as a medic there as well. He does have to take the fire training, and he is being registered to take the entry-level class in Oregon starting next week. So, again, as long as he passes the medical, physical, and the drug screening, I would ask that the commission approve him as a probationary member.
All right, I'll make the same motion. Medical, drug screening, background, and exclusion list. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Laura. Roll call, Laura.
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Russ, aye. Philip, congratulations, welcome. And then we got Jeffrey.
Yes, I have Jeffrey Todd Moss. He has recently completed and passed the State Fire 1 certification. So he is a state certified firefighter and has completed the 1-year probationary period. And I would ask that the commission confirms him as a member of the department.
Is there a motion for confirmation of Jeffrey Moss as firefighter?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Terry,
I'll second.
second by Laura. Roll call, Laura.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Russ, aye. 3-0. Jeffrey, welcome. Thank you. Let's see, I got Edward on the list next.
Yes, Edward is working, but again, he has recently completed and passed the State Fire 1 exam and is now certified as a firefighter and has completed his 1-year probationary period. And I would ask that the commission confirms him as a member.
Is there a motion to confirm Edward as firefighter?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Terry. I'll second that one. Roll call. Terry.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Russ, aye. 3-0. Edward, welcome again. And then we got Christian.
Yes, Christian Stuebs has, again, recently completed the State Fire 1 certification and has completed his 1-year probationary period and is now currently enrolled in the EMT basic class. So I would ask that the commission confirms Christian as a member of the department.
Hearing so, is there a motion to confirm Christian?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Terry, second by Russ. Roll call. Laura.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Russ, aye. 3-0. Christian, welcome again. Anything else? No, Todd,
That's
you're all
all I
cool?
have.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the police chief's report, please.
Turn my microphone on even though I can talk loud enough for you to hear me. Just a couple things I'll report in general. One, I don't think I reported this previously. Our canine Truman had some issues with all 4 of his canine teeth where he was wearing them down to a point where they were concerned that they would fracture if we didn't do something to intervene. So he went in early January, had a procedure done where they were ground down, essentially to prepare them for a cap, similar to a crown for a human. And here in the near future, he will get 4 nice shiny metal caps put on his 4 canines. So we did that to prevent anything further from happening or having a complete fracture, which would be very problematic. So he went through the initial process well. The second part is easy. That's just gluing the caps on. So he's doing well. The second thing is our 3rd annual Citizen Police Academy starts tonight at 6 o'clock. So I'll be down there a little bit later. But we're excited that we got enough signups last minute that we could run it, rather than having to delay it, so that will be later tonight. And that's all I have for a report.
Excellent. All right, we'll go on to the decision on amending rules and regulations of the Police and Fire Commission Rule Number 2.
So I approached Attorney Drescher about this idea, and what I'm looking to do is we have a current hiring process going on, and Rule 2 lays out the procedures for hiring a full-time police officer, and Section 1 is the minimum requirements and qualifications. One of those requirements under number 12 is that they must be certified or certifiable by the state of Wisconsin law enforcement standards boards or currently enrolled in such academy. And that has been a rule for some time, is my understanding. That's the way that we posted this position. What we are finding is that the hiring environment in law enforcement is changing. It's changing rapidly and not for the better. Finding even just people to apply is difficult. Finding quality candidates is even more difficult. Without going into specifics about our current process, it's likely that we may not have a viable candidate out of our application process who meets the requirements that we have in Rule 2. So I guess to add on to that, we have a dwindling pool of candidates who want to get into law enforcement, but for those who are in law enforcement, there's increased opportunity for people to leave and go to different agencies, and we've been the beneficiary of that with our last 3 hires. They've been lateral transfers. That pool of candidates is also shrinking because people are moving to where they want to go and staying there, and more agencies are accepting lateral transfers, which means now we're essentially fighting for this smaller pool of candidates with more and more agencies. So in sitting down and evaluating what can we do as an agency to increase our pool of candidates and make it more likely that we have a candidate who's going to be a good fit for the Lake Mills Police Department, one thing that I think is most important is to open up that pool to allow pre-service candidates or candidates who do not have the law enforcement academy. I understand that means it's a 5-month delay if we have to sponsor somebody through the academy. It's 5 months longer before we get somebody to us, and then we can train them through the field training process. But I think at this point in time in the current environment, allowing some flexibility to allow it, not necessarily dictate that we have to hire a pre-service candidate, but to allow pre-service candidates will give us some flexibility and hopefully increase our pool to where we can identify a candidate. So what I am proposing, Attorney Drescher provided you with draft language. I will note on here on number 12 that it was meant to strike all the way through that last sentence where it says, or currently enrolled in such academy. We meant to strike all the way through that. But is amending Rule 12 from must be certified or certifiable by the State of Wisconsin Law Enforcement Standards Board or currently enrolled in such academy to must meet minimum law enforcement standards board requirements to become a law enforcement officer. And the reason that we chose that language is then it adjusts. If the law enforcement standards board adjusts their minimum requirements, we would not have to change anything in our rule. We would still be in compliance. We would just adjust obviously what those requirements are based on what the law enforcement standards board says. So that's the purpose behind it. I'm happy to answer questions as to if you have them specifically. I think, again, in today's hiring environment, we just have to open up to have the biggest pool of candidates that we can. I would add one more thing. As our agency specifically, but law enforcement in general, is moving more and more to lateral transfer hires, we don't have a pool of candidates who are replenishing from the bottom. We don't have new people coming into the profession. And at one point, there aren't going to be any candidates left if we're not bringing new people in. So for a small agency, I realize it's a significant burden to take on that new person who needs the academy. But at the same time, I think as a profession as a whole that we have to start doing so, or we're just not going to have candidates to fill the positions we need.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Chief, I'm not sure if you mentioned it. Would you then the city be sponsoring this individual into an academy?
We would, and I'm sorry, I can explain what that means too for the city, is the Law Enforcement Academy has a cost of $5,000. It's 720 hours, which is 18 weeks, 17 weeks? I'd have to do the math on it. And we would pay the person a salary while they're in the Law Enforcement Academy. The $5,000 itself is actually reimbursed by the state as long as the person graduates from the academy and completes it successfully. So that's small compared to the salary, but that money would be reimbursed or actually covered by the state once they graduate. The salary would be the significant issue. One things that I'm considering and discussing and would likely do, but would take some work with the union, would be to create a recruit wage. So rather than paying them the starting officer salary for someone who has the academy of $28 an hour or whatever it is, we would make a recruit wage probably somewhere in the range of $17 or $18 an hour while they're in the academy. And then once they graduate and start their field training, they would bump up to the regular starting wage.
So how would you calculate hours then for that person? Are you calculating based on like an 8-hour day every day for them?
So the academy is generally laid out as 8-hour days, 5 days a week, so a 40-hour work week.
Okay. Well, you answered all my questions I was going to ask, so.
And I would reiterate, it's not that I'm looking or that's my priority is to hire somebody and sponsor them through the academy. I just realize that if we don't expand that pool, we may be waiting quite some time to find a lateral candidate that we're acceptable to.
I don't see it as a bad option at all.
I know it's probably an option we don't want to go to, but let's be realistic at this point.
Yeah,
So,
you're right, exactly. You have to do what you have to do to make yourself more interesting to those potential employees. And this
It's
is,
a big investment.
it's a big investment, it is,
It has to fit, absolutely.
yeah. I guess the only thing is, would you try to look for some stipulations in there? Like if they don't finish the academy?
Yes, so I've just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
If I may, the city does have employee education and retention agreements out there already. This is something that we've engaged in. Employees have received master's degrees before, completed bachelor's degrees, gone out for specific certifications and advancement of their position, et cetera.
Sure.
I'm very confident that we could create such an appropriate situation for a recruit. What I'm most excited about from what Chief just told you is this does happen to be a union negotiation year, a new contract year, and it just seems like a timely conversation to have. It is not something that really has been considered by the city of Lake Mills in the past, specifically because the environment has changed. So there you go. That's kind of my short synopsis. On the employee education and retention agreement, yes. I think a graduated scale and a 5-year commitment based on us dedicating to them and sponsoring them through the academy would be appropriate. We don't have anything pen to paper at this point, and we really haven't contemplated and haven't found an appropriate candidate where we're going to move forward with such a
Sure.
thing. So.
Yeah, that answers almost all of them that I had here. So things that I look at is, if we enter into that agreement with them, you're obviously going to work this through the union. Can we add language in there that with the union that we could get reimbursed if they drop out or something like that? Would we even go that far?
I don't know that it would be, that it would be in a union contract. I think the union contract would address and create essentially that recruit wage.
Yeah.
We would have to do that through the union contract. There would be an individual employment agreement with an employee who fits the criteria. So if we're going to hire someone that we sponsor.
So would they become or be required to become members of the union at that employment before they've ever really truly been through the academy? Is that what we're saying?
So the union has its own rules. They're technically not a member of the union until they've cleared probation.
Okay.
Correct.
That's exactly what I
So
was
they're
gonna
not an actual member. They may pay union dues because they benefit from the contract that the union has negotiated, but they're not a member. In order to attend the law enforcement academy as a sponsored candidate, they have to be a sworn officer. So we would have to actually swear them in as an officer before the first day of the academy. So they'd be considered a sworn officer. They would be covered by the union contract, but would not be a member of the union yet until they complete the academy and complete their probationary period.
Okay. Well, from everything I heard here, it's a good option to look at. It's a good way for us to hopefully stand out above the other communities that are also looking to hire officers and folks in the fire department. The only thing I would like to see is some sort of language that if they fail out or things like that, that we could hopefully get some reimbursement of some of the fees.
And I agree, and I think, I would be concerned if someone fails. I would hope that we select a candidate who wouldn't fail. My bigger reason for wanting an employment agreement was we don't want to sponsor somebody through the academy, train them, and then have them leave us for another agency. And now we've done all the work to get them through the academy and certified and trained up, and now they leave. So that would be the situation where I would be more apt to want to pursue some sort of reimbursement.
Sure.
If somebody just simply decides law enforcement isn't for them, I would rather that they find another vocation than stick it out because they're worried about repaying the city for an
Makes
expense.
sense.
So I kind of look at it as, in one way, a cost of doing business. We're going to be either paying a lateral transfer, we hire a higher wage, or we're going to be paying a recruit a wage to go through the academy and then start at the starting salary, with the hopes that we found the right person and the right fit, and they're going to want to stay here, and we're going to want to keep them here.
Okay.
So do we start a testing process again then too, to try to figure out who's gonna come to your interview process beforehand too? I'm still a little bit lost on, I've never seen that test that you give interviewees as a part of the bigger pool, yeah.
I'm not recommending the change to the rest of the rule. So the rule kind of lays out that if we have 35 candidates or more, I think is the number that we will give a written test. And I don't remember if physical agility test is in here. Yep, and physical fitness test, to reduce that pool to a manageable number for that first interview phase. So I'm not requesting a change to that. I don't know that a test is required.
Will that help us to get a better candidate though? Seeing as how we don't actually know their academic history, so to speak?
It can. I mean, we're going to get their academic history as far as grades when we do a background investigation and we get their transcripts. We're going to do a background investigation, assuming it's somebody who recently went to technical college or college. That's going to involve going to that school, talking to some of their instructors if it's technical college, professors at a four-year school. So I think we'll get an idea, and you can assess somewhat through an interview process, somebody's intelligence level. The post-test is a useful tool when you have a very large group of candidates and you want to find a way to easily kind of whittle that pool down. I think a person of average intelligence generally can do well on that test. It's not made to be difficult. It's made to just say, okay, you have an average intelligence enough that you're trainable and probably can enter this field. So again, if the PFC wants to implement a written test because we're now including pre-service candidates, I'm happy to do that. Essentially, all it requires us to do is have the test and administer it. It's not a deal breaker for me. I don't necessarily think it's necessary, especially if you have a small pool to begin with.
I just wanted to make sure that we were sending the best possible candidate into the academy, seeing as how we're, as a community, putting more skin into the game of financially. That's the way I was looking at the test, but.
And I think the most important part of the hiring process is the background investigation, because the background investigation is, if you do it correctly, is going to identify somebody who either has character flaws or issues that are going to be problematic, or has some other issues or history going on that's going to make it difficult for them to make it through that process. If we do the background investigation well, the interview process and the process up into that point, in my opinion, is just saying, okay, who do we think is going to be the best candidate for us? Now the background investigation is used to say, confirm, yes, they are a good candidate, or say, nope, they're not a suitable candidate, and we're going to move on to the next one. Much more so than the post or the written test would. Again, the post is really from a day when you had hundreds of candidates applying for a job and you needed a simple, objective way to reduce that pool down to a manageable number.
Okay.
Yeah, Russ, I don't think a written exam would be necessary, even if we were hitting large numbers. We would just weed through them. If it was like over 200 or so, while we're very popular, that might be the case, but I don't anticipate that being the number, and I don't think it'd be a good use of resources at this time, at least.
Okay.
And I honestly would anticipate in today's hiring environment, if we open it up to pre-service candidates, if we get 15 candidates, I'm not going to be happy with it, but I'd probably start to get surprised if we got any more than that. It's just
Okay.
what we're seeing in agencies around the area.
Have you considered different types of recruiting techniques or where you want to recruit, target markets or anything of that nature?
We have, and if we change this rule and open it up to pre-service, I think it allows us now to get into technical schools. It allows us to get into universities and try to attract those students before they graduate, and get them interested not only in law enforcement, but interested in us as an agency. It would also allow us to hire people who maybe went to college and started and got some credits, and something happened, whether life happened and they had to start working, or they decided college wasn't for them. But now they have some experience. They're probably got a little bit of more wisdom. You know, they're in their mid-20s or 30s, and they decide that now they want to pursue law enforcement as a career. And this would open up the door to those people as well. And those actually are a lot of times your best candidates, someone who have a little life experience under them, and now decide, all right, now I'm going to commit to this profession. So I think it opens the door. Again, it doesn't require us to hire any of them, but it opens the door that if we find one that's suitable, that we can.
Okay. Anybody have anything else on? All right. Is there a motion to amend the number 12?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
so we're going to amend it to as written on the sheet then?
Let me read it out loud.
Okay, please, yeah.
The entire stricken, yep, go ahead.
Okay. So it would be amended to must meet minimum law enforcement standards board requirements to become a law enforcement officer, period.
Okay,
That's what I understood it to be.
okay,
Yep, that's what I seconded.
all right. Roll call, Mike?
Here, and yes.
Okay. Terry?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Russ, aye. Okay, so as read, we'll amend number 12 on our number 2 rule, 4-0. Anything
you.
else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hearing no objection, I adjourn the meeting at 17:27.